Hi everyone, so today we're going to be fitting hips and also jack rafters. So I made a start, but I've got this one which I can do with you together to do, so that's what we're going to do. Right, I'll go around show you. So right, that's where we are. You're going to have to obviously notch the back of a plate, or in my case back of oak, so I can get it in position. And sometimes what you will get is, as you can see, timber's got a bow in it, so when we do our jack rafters we will straighten it, but at the minute we obviously just leave it where it is and we'll concentrate on the other side. So then all we got left is jack rafters to fit, which again we go through. So in my case, pitch is 29 degrees, well say 30, so I'll just show you. I'm using this square which you've seen in my previous videos, so I'll show you. My pitch was here, well literally 30 degrees, just under 30. That's where it worked out, because what I didn't have a measurement for the height of the ridge, so we just had to go and fit the ridge at the height which was good enough for us, so it's not too high, which sometimes you might have to do, because yeah, we just had a sketch really on what we're doing. So but anyway, it's not the point. So this, you set this out, yeah, you know your pitch, so it says roof pitch, so you set it out at the just under 30 in our case, and then this square, slightly adjustable square, is where you mark your C cut. So when you get to do the hips, you need to read this side, yeah, you see, and you need to take, to get your hip angle on a chop saw, either you go to website and get their sheet which will say which pitch will have which degrees on a chop saw, or you can use this, but you need to go, so if you had 30 there, you need to put hip side on 30 or just under, and then that will actually tell you what your rough, or not rough, what your angle on a chop saw is. So in our case it's nearly 22 degrees, so so yeah, that's how you can get it if you don't have the app, or you don't have the sheet which says what sort of, you know, depending on the roof pitch, what sort of hip angle on a chop saw it will be. So yeah, that's how you can do it without having the sheet, but you can always find them online. It's straightforward, just Google sheet for hip angles and it'll give you the sheet of all the angles, etc. So I just wanted to share this with you before we start. So knowing what my hip was, we will just crack on and I'll show you, well, step by step how I do it. Obviously this is not the only way to do it. Also worth mentioning, I use always screws when setting out, and then to finish off I use nail gun once I'm sure everything's where it should be. So yeah, we cut first rafters, hips, jack rafters. So yeah, that's how I do it, because if you do nail it and it is slightly out, because obviously we got oak, as you remember I mentioned you, and it's not perfect, so measurements vary, so sometimes you need to maybe recut something. So yeah, that's why I would suggest you using screws. If everything's level perfect and you're confident you've cut it all right, then of course go ahead and use the nails. But as I said, I just put one screw in each end and then I'll go around and re-nail everything else once it's all sort of done. and I can use nail gun for actual jack rafters. Again, I will get few in with screws just to get our hips straight, so it runs in a straight line, no warpies in it. And yeah, so that's where we are, and I'll catch up with you in a bit. So what we do, we're gonna place this in a corner. So these points are lining up with our rafters, with king rafter and with normal rafter. And then we're gonna mark it on there. We'll take a nail and nail it in. We offered our dummy piece in, and where the point is of the angle which we cut, I put a nail in, and that's where I'm gonna hook my tape to measure length of our hip. So here what we're gonna have to do, measure from your mitre 22.5. So once you mark your 22.5, place this on. So as you can see, I've marked 2 lines which represents where our hip will sit. As you can see, we got height difference, so what we're gonna have to do is cut this off so the hip can sit flush, because we know that this side is the main side we used for our measurements, and on other side we were high, so we took difference off, or our depth of the C-cut was deeper by the difference between thickness of this beam and that beam. So we're gonna have to do the same on this side when we do our jack rafters. So, and then once you mark your lines, you take this square cut, so you mark it on a corner, and that's where we're gonna have to cut off. Cut this corner here off. What I would suggest you to do, cut a bit at a time, to make sure you don't overcut it, because that will be your depth will depend on obviously your seat cut depth and this leftover. So, but you will get to that, or we'll get to that in a minute. Mine was about 100 millimeters, so I'll do 90 now, and then I cut rest of it in to make sure that, you know, it's good fit, so I don't overcut too much, because obviously it will depend on the width of your timber as well. So this is how you measure and fit the hips. As you can see, we had to cut this back. Also the difference in the thickness of the timber. So there's that side, all joining nicely. So the next step for us is to mark 400. Obviously we're gonna have to sort of ignore this one and go 800 from that one, and then we'll fit our jack rafters. So yeah, that's where we are, and we'll crack on with infilling the our jack rafters. So we've done one side, is infilled. This last piece, I suggest you to screw it, because then you can adjust it. I've just roughly got in place. It's slightly high, so we will adjust it before we cut the rafter ends to take fashion soffit. So, but I want to show you what we got. You can see it's nice and straight. So next step, we'll mark this one out, and yeah, so we'll get this filled in. What I'd like to do to get is to match where these are, so they join. But obviously, I'll measure out, see how it will work with the first one. If it doesn't, then it doesn't, but you'll see. So yeah, I won't be filming because it's starting to rain quite heavy, and this camera, I don't think can take it. It is getting wet, so I hope you're enjoying it so far. We've gone through how to do our jack rafters. So if you got any questions, you can ask. I'll try to answer them. I try to be as quick as possible explaining how I do it, because it's starting to rain, so the camera is getting soaked. So yeah, I will mark the other ones out. I'll be taking the camera away because it's getting, as I said, wet. So I will catch up with you when the day is sunnier. So I'll see you soon.